we are responsible for preserving this life story, these memories, these wisdoms, these experiences that people have lived through their lives and are putting out for their family and those coming after. That's a big responsibility, and we don't want to take it lightly. But we want to have a bit of fun along the way.
Hello, Carrie, and welcome to the Founder Series. We're delighted to have you here today.
Thanks, Gafar. I'm glad to be speaking with you.
Would really like to pick your brain and understand, how this whole thing came about. Could you talk a little bit about how AudioLife and its conception and this idea came about?
Sure. So, it has been a big focus over the last year, but the reality is it's been an idea in my head for years. And if I think back, it's been 5 years, probably even longer, that I've had this nagging that there are people in my life that I care about that are getting older, some that have already passed on. And something in me just wants to ask questions that I've never had the chance to ask. Right. And as we get older and we go through these different periods of our life, of adulthood and career and all of the things that happen, you start to think about your parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles differently and wonder what their experience was. And those are stories that you don't always get growing up. And there's so many questions I have to ask and so many experiences and wisdom and even just family histories that I don't want to lose. And I know I've already lost so many of them. I wish I could come up with a point in time. Like I have two amazing grandmothers who have passed on, and I was too young and focused on other things when that happened to realize, which I very much realize now, what we lost. And at some point, I don't know, it just became a stronger need to capture those stories. And as my parents got older, I thought, okay, well, I really have to do it with my parents. Now, I like this idea of memoirs, but the idea of having somebody sit down and help you write a memoir, it's always been reserved for kind of the rich and famous, right? Like who's going to read that unless they know who you are? Who's going to spend the time and money on it? And I thought, well, for my family, like I don't care if it's if it's a bestseller. For my family, like that's what I want to read. That's what I want to store. That's what I care about. But again, just the idea of something in writing is, I actually worked in publishing for 12 years, and we knew that it was out of date before it was published, right? So it's not the right format. Having a conversation with somebody brings out stories, ideas, memories, feelings, wisdom that they may not have even realized that they were ready to share, that people have never heard before. And also it's an ongoing conversation, right? We might have a conversation one day and pick some memories, some ideas that you want to pick up on the next conversation. So this is something that's been nagging at me that I know why I wanted to do it. I started to figure out how I wanted to do it. And the idea of audio memoirs is really, really powerful and special. And fortunately, over the last year and a half, through my Quantic Executive MBA, I got to actually work on this idea with a couple of amazing partners and develop it and test it. And we have recordings and we have a business and a brand and yeah, so it's happening.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What are the core values of the company?
I love that because we've had a chance, my business partners and I have had a chance to really flesh out this business for over a year. We spent time business planning. We had all of our professors grading us and telling us, advising us and telling us how we were doing and whether it was a good business or not and how to think about it. And early on, we did an exercise on our values, right? So what mattered? It's this broad group. At that time, we didn't know each other very well. So defining your core values, we're each bringing a different perspective, but trying to find what fits the business, but also fits the individuals founding the business. We revisited that exercise 6 months later. Fortunately, many of the core values were the same, but we expanded the list and we refined the list and we defined what they meant to us. And I think defining our core values through all of our use cases and our growing team is going to be really important. But ultimately, we came up with 5 core values that resonated with us, with the business that we're trying to run, and with the people that we're going to be working with, both internally and externally. We have an acronym, so it's Use It, USIIT. Just a little reminder that we should be putting our values front and center. And they stand for user centered. So really putting not just the digital experience being a great user experience, but making sure that our customers are at the center of everything that we're doing. A sense of play. We toyed with this a lot because we all share different senses of humor, but we value a sense of humor. And at the same time, we're dealing with stories and content and legacy that's very, very serious. Now, it doesn't have to be every story is incredibly serious. What we're taking on, the idea that we are responsible for preserving this life story, these memories, these wisdoms, these experiences that people have lived through their lives and are putting out for their family and those coming after, that's a big responsibility. And we don't want to take it lightly. But we want to have a bit of fun along the way. Sense of play helped us to just embody how to make that enjoyable while still making sure that we realize how important the work we're doing is. Inclusive is a big one for us. This is inclusivity in our organization, in our team, the idea of diverse perspectives, the idea that everybody is welcome. It's also inclusivity out in the market. So we thought about who our target market was because we're business students and we had to do that. And then we realized we're not doing this just for a specific demographic that makes a certain amount of money that lives in a certain place. This has to be capturing stories out in the world for everybody. And those stories that aren't captured in the news, in published books that are out in the store right now. So that inclusivity was really important to me and to our whole group. Innovation is the other I. So we have at least a couple of us who are very, very into technology. We're early adopters. We're excited by all of the potential out there. And we want to make sure that we continue to innovate what our offerings are, what our tech stack is, what the experience is. So it is a core value for us. And we want actually for our operational processes to just be sleek and just a really, really tight, well operated business. And the last is trusted or trustworthy. So that's the T in Use It. We absolutely need to be and want to be that trusted source that you go to share your stories, your legacy, your memories. No one core value is more important than the rest, but they don't work if we're not trustworthy. So we put a lot of work into not only our process and our systems and our brand, but also our research and development and the examples that we're putting out there for people to see, to show them that you can trust us with your story, with these really important cherished memories. And that we're the right people to take care of it for you.
Wow, that's amazing. And finally, how do you think AudioLife will make a difference?
In a lot of ways, I really will. So I can tell you from not just from the dreamer, but from experience, it is giving all of us perspective that we didn't have before. Right. So it's not just that connection to people that we love. It's not just a fun story that makes me smile or laugh or even cry. It's not just the connection of the voice, which is so strong. It's the idea that we can impact intergenerational relationships and we can help to build bonds and create empathy and understanding that people won't be able to naturally do without a service like this. One of our research principles is that you can't be interviewed by somebody that you know, right? So I'm a daughter, and I told you that I was motivated by this idea because of my own family. But me sitting down and interviewing my parents, as an example, won't get the results that somebody outside of the family will, because we're both going in with these biases. I know a lot of information about them. I'm going to tend to ask things that I know. I might go outside of their story, right? I might start to ask about other family members. There's a generational divide that might make a parent or a family member uncomfortable answering some of those questions with somebody younger or with somebody related to them or with their child. So there are a lot of factors behind why I, as a daughter, can't get the story that I want to understand about my parents by asking them. That's if I even do, right? A lot of us think about it but don't actually do it. What we can do at AudioLife is uncover these stories, these guiding principles that people have in their life, changes that they may have experienced in their beliefs, obviously also some humor and some lived experiences that they can come at from a new perspective where they're talking to somebody brand new and essentially teaching them about their life. And as that family member on the other side, when you get to hear that recorded story, you might hear a story that you've heard before, but from a different perspective. You might hear part of the story that you didn't hear before. You also are definitely going to hear something that you didn't know before and you didn't know how to ask about. So that intergenerational connection, the education, the empathy, the perspective, and then having that when you don't have the chance anymore to go and ask those people because they're not with us anymore, having that memory, that connection, that voice to share with generations to come is so important. So I think there's a lot that's going to come out of the work that we're doing.
That's tremendously inspiring. And thank you so much, Carrie Purcell, founder of AudioLife. We're all super excited to follow you and AudioLife's journey and hoping to bring a lot of social impact to the world. So thank you again.
Thanks, Gafar.